Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny back at it again, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to DFS Zone. I'm going to be discussing today's 5-game slate in the association. But before I get started, like always, I appreciate you guys. Drop a like, comment down below. Let me know what you think of this upcoming 5-game slate, who you like, who you don't like. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're looking for NBA content on a weekly basis, Monday through Friday for now, with information, tips, tricks, maybe some strategies, anything that might be able to give you some information that can possibly help you with your lineups. If you're looking for that, it's completely free. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget also to put on the notification bell. This way you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos, man. So with that being said, it is Tuesday. It's November the 2nd. And the 5-gamer today, not a pretty slate. But there's a lot of value that can open up. So keep it in mind. Stay on top of the news. I can't say it more than enough. Whatever I go over here right now is what I'm seeing right now earlier in the day. Of course, anything can change from here to then, but there's a lot of news. And I'm sure if you are following DFS and you're following the NBA because you're just simply a fan, you're going to see there's a lot of game time decisions here throughout the entire slate in every position. Some teams are going to open up some value. So make sure that you stay on top of the news. That's all I can tell you all the way up to 7 o'clock. That's the best advice and tip I can give you. All right, so we're going to get started at the top. Like always, for the last 3 or 4 videos, I've been basically just been going with the format. I'm going to give you one pick that stands out to me that I kind of like at the moment in each position, and then at the very end I'm going to come back again and give you a couple other options, a couple other players that I'm looking at each position. And then of course, if there is any game stack or team stack, I'll go over that as well. I only have one game that I think that maybe I will consider doing a couple, because I do multiple lineups. I will do a couple of lineups, maybe utilizing this stack, especially if all that value opens up. It will make it easier to stack up that game. So but we'll discuss that in a moment. But let's get right to it, man. So at point guard, I'm basically going to come down, and the first guy that stands out at me is just the price tag. I don't play him a whole lot, but Kyle Lowry at 5,900 going up against Dallas, I definitely think is not a bad play. His price tag is relatively cheap. He did play 29 minutes in his last game, 15, 5, and 8, had a pretty productive game, got 3 steals, 38 fantasy points. He's coming in at 8 points per game, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. Numbers don't look pretty, 26 fantasy points per game. But at 5,900, you need 29 to meet value, and this is a guy that can definitely get you 40 or better on a given night. He hasn't done it yet. He came close in his last game, but nonetheless, he's capable of it. He's a guy that can get you some rebounds and assists, and he's capable of getting you some steals here and there. He has that 40-point upside. I do like him even more so, obviously, if there's no Bam Adebayo. So we got to keep that in mind. Lowry's in play for price tag purposes. As far as possibly getting value here, I do believe he can definitely do it here, even with Bam on the court. But it's going to open up the doors even more for him, Jimmy B, Tyler Hero. These guys are going to have opportunities galore if Bam Adebayo is not able to go. Last meeting versus Dallas, he pretty much put up 43, 45 in his last 5 against them. 43, 45, 46, 55, and 44. So he's done very well there. He's been shooting the ball pretty well as of late. 5 of 8 in his last game. He shot 5 of 8, 62%, 4 of 5 from 3, 80%. It was his best game yet. Poor Kyle Lowry. In the previous couple of games for the Dallas Mavericks, they gave up 14, 6, and 4. 14, 6, and 4 to De'Aaron Fox. Murray put up the nicest game thus far against them. He put up 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists. And Kevin Porter Jr. put 13 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists against them. So Kyle Lowry is in that ballpark that if he is able to get his shots down, which he was able to do in his last game, keep that momentum going, he can have possibly a good game here with the depleted Dallas Mavericks, with just possibly only having no KP, or possibly not having KP in their lineup tonight. We go to shooting guard. At shooting guard, I'm going to come down to Donovan Mitchell. Now, I don't play Donovan Mitchell a whole lot either, but this is also another good matchup. Price tag is fairly good at $8,000 for what he can actually do. He's coming in here, putting in 23 points, 4 rebounds, and about 5 assists a game at 36.6 fantasy points per game. At 8,000, you need 40. And as you can see here, his last 2 games, he's been at 37 plus. So he's trending upward from his 31 and 32 games prior to that. He's definitely scoring the hell out of the ball. 28 and 4 and 2 in his last game. 30 points against Chicago with 7 rebounds and 6 assists and 1 block. So he is doing well. He's shooting 40% from the floor, 31% from three thus far this year. He did have in the first meeting versus Sacramento earlier in the year, he played 37. First meeting this year versus Sacramento, he was 37 minutes, 9 of 25, 36% shooting, 6 of 14, 42%, 43 fantasy points against them, 27 points from the floor, as you can see here. And and then last year in his last game against them, he put up 57.6 fantasy points per game. So he was coming in here allowing 50.6 fantasy points per game to opposing shooting guards. A couple of guys as of late. Hardaway put up 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Alexander Walker of New Orleans put up 11, 4, and 2. And Devin Booker put up 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists against them over the course of the last couple of games. So I like Donovan Mitchell here at the moment. Again, value will open up throughout the day. So keep that in mind. We go to small forward. At small forward at the top, first guy that comes down to me that I'm going to come down to, and as you can see, there's a whole lot of stuff going on here, but I'll get back to these guys in a few moments. We're going to come all the way down to Kevin Porter Jr. just simply because for 5,900 is pretty much attainable for him. That's about his range. He's capable of getting you 28, 29. I also like the factors that he plays more than enough minutes and his usage rate is good enough. It's at about 22, 23%, actually 24% thus far this year, and he takes more than enough shots. So it's just about burying some more shots. And of course, he's a pretty decent defender if he can get the steals and some blocks. But if he can get the steals up, that's definitely what we want to see from a guard or somebody. And remember, he's point guard, small forward eligible. I'm taking him as a small forward here, but you could very easily pencil him as a point guard here as well. And the only reason I slapped him in as a small forward is because of knowing that he's a point guard for Houston, and he's going up against the Lakers. But the Lakers have been horrific. But thus far, he's been pretty good. 29 plus in 22 out of his last 3 games. He's shooting. What I like best, as you can see, he has had about 8 steals so far this season, which is pretty darn good. Is shooting 41% from the floor, 36% from 3 thus far, taking, like I said, about 11 to 12 shots on average and about 6 threes per game on average with a 24% usage rate. His last game against LA obviously was a couple of days ago. The other night didn't shoot particularly well, but he got himself a 29.6 fantasy points there, nearly a 30 spot. LA is allowing the most fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. That's why I'm throwing them in here. They've been allowing 57.2 fantasy points per game. Darius Garland of Cleveland put up 18 points, 1 rebound, and 11 assists. SGA put up 27, 9, and 5 in their game. These are the last 2 opponents. So big numbers from some guys there that take quite a bit of shots, and they're gonna get themselves Kevin Porter here. So Kevin Porter is in play for me as a point guard playing small forward. Power forward. Well, who am I going to? Right now at the moment, I'm going to go Giannis. I think he's going to be highly owned player if he plays. He is a game time decision, but it's all leaning to, towards him playing. And without Middleton, on there, it's really going to hurt a lot. There's no Drew Holiday as well, so he's going to have to take up the workload. He's going to have some help. They're going to have some guys that's going to open up some value there for, guys like Grayson Allen, but he's also a game time decision. So, of course, Connaughton is definitely in play, George Hill as well, and maybe even Bobby Portis, depending on, and maybe even his own brother, Thaddeus Antetokounmpo might be available as well because he played massive minutes the last time out. So you might have the 2 brothers playing side by side today. But Giannis at 11,300, needing 55, 56 pretty much to be value. And we know he is capable of getting you 70 or better. He had a 62 and a 76 spot here just 3 or 4 games ago. Massive amount of points he's putting up from the floor. He's playing more than enough minutes. And he gets you a double-double. 1, 2, 3. He's had 4, 5, 6 double-doubles in 7, 8 games thus far this year. And, of course, he brings in the blocking and the massive defense with blocks and steals where that fantasy point totals can really, really start adding up. So, Giannis in play for me, man, under the circumstances. Last 4 games versus Detroit, he's put up 59, 39, 59.8, pretty much a 60 spot and a 68. So he is putting up huge numbers against this team, Detroit. They've been allowing only 34 fantasy points per game to opposing power forwards. But again, you got to look back look at the information, determine whom they have played against, because that can vary. That's why it's important to find out where those fantasy points per games average are really coming from. And while they played John Collins put up a very nice game against them. He's a fairly good power forward who also could play center for the Atlanta Hawks. He put up 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists. And then you had Tobias Harris. He put 17 and 6. And Draymond Green put up 14, 6, and 6. And then they had 4 games, 2 of them against Patrick Williams, which, is not a factor. Covington, not a factor. And then O'Neal, who's a defensive specialist, as well as Covington, playing power forwards for their respective teams. They're going to have their hands full, considering that they have not faced anyone who is as good or who is probably the best power forward in the whole association in Giannis Antetokounmpo. So Giannis is in play. So I think he is definitely a slam dunk here. He will be more than likely the highest owned player on the slate if he does play. It's a game time decision with the knee, but I think he's going to be a go. And we go to center. At center, number obviously guys that you could definitely go to. I mean, J Val is definitely in play. Bam is definitely in play. But I'm going to Rudy Gobert, who's been healthy, solid, and has been consistent. Gobert coming in here, 8,200, 16 points on average a game, 17 rebounds. He's not going to pass the ball a whole lot, but what he brings is the physicality. Good defender, can get you tons of blocks. So you can see 7, 8, 9, 10 blocks this year with 4 steals. His last game out against Milwaukee, he only put up a 40.6, but capable of getting you 50 or better. He has at times have put up 60 plus in previous years, but thus far this year, his biggest game was 2 games ago against Chicago, against Vucevic, and he put up 53. He has 5 out of his 6 games he has played. He has put in a double-double, so he's been pretty solid. His shooting, he is shooting right now currently 72% from the floor, 72% from the free throw line. He did have his first meeting against his team earlier in the year on October 22nd. He had a double-double with 20 rebounds and 2 assists. Didn't get a block in that game, but maybe today he'll get some more fantasy points. He did put up a 46 against Sacramento the first time around. In previous games against Sacramento, he put up 46 and 42 and 60 over the course of the last 3. Sacramento coming in here, they've been allowing 61.7, the most fantasy points to opposing centers thus far this year, and they already faced Gobert, and they're going to face him again. So it's a good shot he'll get here. He'll meet value. I don't see him not meeting value. I could see him definitely getting his 46 to 50, and I would not be surprised at all if he got 55 or better. All right. Sacramento has allowed 24 points, 13 rebounds, and 1 assist to J Val. DeAndre Ayton put up 21 points, 21 rebounds. That was the day that I suggested Ayton, and I put him in the lineup, and he came up with a big game with 1 block, 1 steal, and 1 block. Also, J Val had 2 blocks and 2 steals in that game, so that's something to consider when you're looking at this matchup with Sacramento. Gobert had 17 points, 20 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Didn't have a block in that game against the Sacramento Kings. So Gobert in play for me, man. So we're going to stay right here at center like I normally do and give you the other options. Like I say, J Val definitely in play. 8,600. His price tag is coming up. You need about 44. He has 60-point upside. He can do it all. Rebound. He can get you some blocks and steals. He's going up against, he's had 5 straight double-doubles and 5 straight games where he's put a 42 plus. Phoenix is allowing 53.4 fantasy points per game to opposing centers. And then if DeAndre Ayton is a little bit, to the point that he does not play, it's going to open up the doors for J Val to be an excellent play. I will have exposure to Jonas Valanciunas, no doubt about it. JV's in play for me as well as Rudy Gobert, and I may have sprinkled a little bit of Bam Adebayo as well. So I like that matchup there. Bam Adebayo, same thing. He has a little bit of a knee issue. That's just why I'm favoring more Gobert and JV. But Bam is definitely in play because this matchup against Dallas is just nobody that's going to be able to, defend him. It's just he should be able to eat all day there. And at 8,500, he is definitely an excellent play if he's able to go. If he is not able to go, then obviously you can pivot to Dwayne Dedmon for a possible value, who more than likely will play at least 20 to 25 minutes for the guys. Other than that, Not high on Ayton today, but he's an option if you wanted to. If you wanted to save a little bit more, Holmes has a little more upside as far as the blocking and the steals. His only problem is he gets into foul trouble all the time. So 7,500 is a little risky on Rashawn Holmes, but he is definitely an option at 7,500. You want to come down and save a little bit. I think Kelly Olynyk here versus Milwaukee, who's allowing 53.9 fantasy points per game to opposing centers, could be an option. And when he's on the court, he definitely can sometimes light it up, get you 35, 40. So definitely has some upside with Kelly Olynyk. So he's someone you definitely can consider. Coming down, if you want to be even cheaper, depending on the news with KP, depending on the news as far as Bobby Portis, if he's going to start at center and get more than 20 minutes, these guys are viable options. This is just definitely a tough matchup for Dwight Powell. If he starts for Dallas, KP's not playing. He's got his hands full with Bam Adebayo. So I just not favoring that one. I'd rather go to Bobby Portis and pivot there, going up against Detroit at 4,700, where he is capable of hitting you threes. He's a good free throw shooter, gets good rebounding, could score in the paint. So Bobby Portis is definitely someone you consider. Again, Dedmon is in play, obviously, if there's no Bam Adebayo. And, of course, JaVale McGee is in play if there's no DeAndre Ayton. So keep those guys in mind at 4,300. Other than that, I don't think there's anybody else down here that will be of any value, at least in my opinion. So that takes care of centers. We go back now to the point guard position. And at point guard, you got Luka at the top. I'm not high on Luka today at 10,004. My favorite play for the price tag is Giannis. But I think that you can actually get a Luka, or you can get someone else in here, another stud or maybe an AD or something like that if you wanted to, and with the value that's going to open up. And you can get maybe two studs in here for sure. But right now at the moment, I'm not high on him, but I think he's definitely someone with an option. He is in a tough matchup against Miami. And if Bam Adebayo plays and you got Butler, I mean, it's going to be pretty tough. Miami definitely slows down the pace in the games, and they're very physical defensively. So tough matchup for Doncic, but not to say, this is why the game's got to be played. You just never know. So he is definitely someone that can get very hot at the last moment. Other than that, Chris Paul, I definitely think Chris Paul is in play for me. I mean, 7,800, you only need 38. He's capable of getting you 50 plus. He's been playing fairly well. He's a good point per minute player. He's actually averaging about 1.22 fantasy points per minute thus far this year. New Orleans is allowing 45.9, nearly 46 fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. So Chris Paul, not in a bad spot here at 7,800. My boy Aaron Fox, he is one of those that gets more than enough usage, more than enough shots. You just never know with him. He's priced down. He hasn't had a great year thus far, but he is capable of any point having a great game. He has not had great success against Utah because of their half-court game and slowing the game down, while Sacramento likes to play mostly fast-paced. So this is definitely a concern here. So I would definitely prefer Paul here in this matchup against New Orleans as opposed to Fox. Devontae Graham, you got to watch the news here with this, because obviously if Devontae Graham doesn't play, then that's going to open up the doors for some value in New Orleans with Hart, with Alexander Walker getting a bump, and stuff like that. Kevin Porter, as I already discussed, point guard, small forward. I like him there. Lowry, he's already in the lineup. Other than that, obviously, Jalen Green, the kid is 5,800. 28 you need. He's averaging 25, but he takes a tons of shots. So Jalen Green, can be an option here for you at point guard or shooting guard. He's more of a shooting guard. He's shooting guard first. So, I mean, I think that he's definitely viable. Jordan Clarkson, one of the 6 men of the year, can be an option. He can get you a point per minute when he's in there. Cade Cunningham, number 1 pick of the overall draft. We'll wait on minutes on him. I have no problem with him playing, but at 5,000, I don't know what he's really got yet in the pros when he's only played, 18 minutes? Yeah, 18 minutes and 14 fantasy points. Brunson, definitely someone you can always consider coming off the bench, can definitely light it up, get you 30, 35 any given night. If his shot is going down, they're going to feed him more. George Hill in play, playing 30-plus minutes thus far this season. And I think that's pretty much it. We go to shooting guard. At shooting guard, Jimmy B in play if there's no Bam. That's a hefty price for him at 10,000. You need 50, but he's capable of it. Devin Booker, nice matchup here for him against New Orleans. 8,200, respectable price. You need about 41 for Book, and he has 50-point upside. New Orleans has been allowing 41.7 fantasy points per game to opposing shooting guards. He has had 3 straight meetings where he has had at least more than 40 fantasy points against the New Orleans Pelicans. So Booker is definitely someone you can consider. As you know already what I like about Mitchell. I'll get down here, obviously Tyler Hero will be in play. Alexander Walker will be in play, especially if those guys are hurt. If Bam is out, it's going to boost up Hero to be a little bit more offense. They're going to need more offense from him. Alexander Walker, same thing. If there's no Ingram or Devontae Graham, that's going to open up the doors not only for Alexander Walker, but it's also going to open up the doors for Josh Hart. So Hart is in play as well. Jalen Green, like I said before, Halliburton, could be someone you can consider. I would probably go with Green more simply because they're going to need him, and the kid is in a position where, the Lakers are capable of giving up some points. I mean, he's taking 16 to 18 shots a game thus far, this year. And that's good. That's stuff that I like to see. He's playing more than enough minutes, taking more than enough shots. His usage rate is okay. He just needs those shots to go down. So we'll see how that pans out for him. Hard in play, obviously, like I said, if those guys are out. Finney Smith, because of KP, is going to get a boost. Pat Connaughton, this is going to be big, man. So if Pat Connaughton starts, and we know for a fact, especially if Grayson Allen, the more so he's going to start. But Grayson Allen is not able to go. It's going to definitely boost up Pat Connaughton here today for Milwaukee, as well as George Hill up front. And then, of course, Giannis is going to have to do a lot more legwork up front. That's pretty much it for right now for their small forward. Jimmy B, like I said, if there's no Bam, he's definitely in play. This is something to watch here. We know that LeBron, and it's always with the game time decision, but he's more than likely going to play. And he's priced about right for what he's been doing. He hasn't really been balling out. He's been pretty much averaging at 46, 48, 44, around there. Brandon Ingram at 8,200. Game time decision, just watch that news. If he happens to be out, then like I said, man, Hart, Alexander Walker, those guys are going to definitely be in play. Harrison Barnes, don't hardly ever play him, and he always comes through. He always seems to be putting up some decent numbers. He's at 7,700, and he's averaging more than that. So his price tag is below his average. He's averaging 41. That would be more like 8K, and he's at 7,700. So you're getting a little discount there. But Utah could be tough, and looking back at it, he really has had not any big games against Utah. Carmelo Anthony been playing well, man. They've been giving him 24, 25 minutes, and he's been making the most out of those times on the floor. And what they're doing really good is that they're putting Anthony in there without having to, stack him up with AD a whole lot or with LeBron. Is either one or the other. There's usually not all three of them on the court, and that opens him up to be one of those options as far as a shooter is concerned. And that's what he's been doing. So 6,000, need 30. He's an option. And I mentioned some of these guys away. Hardaway has done fairly well against Miami, surprisingly, at about 25, 26 fantasy points per game. So at 5,000, he's viable. Nuora, 4,500 if he can get some shots and get them down. Robinson, 3-point specialist pretty much. Thanasis, Antetokounmpo could be someone to consider here if he comes out and they play him again. He played 32 minutes in the last game, 10, 9, and 3. We don't know. Maybe that's enough for an audition for him to play a little bit more alongside his brother Giannis. We'll see. Jay Crowder, definitely an option down low. And that's about it at small forward. Power forward at the top. Giannis is in play. Anthony Davis is in play. I like Davis more than James so far this year. So maybe Jay Davis has shown the better upside. And against Houston, he might just have definitely an advantage over Christian Wood. Bam Adebayo, definitely like him there against Dallas. Should be able to eat all day if he's healthy and he plays. And I told you about Holmes, could be very sneaky. Guy that can put up a huge amount of points very quickly because he's a decent rebounder and he's a very good defender. The only problem is he's very aggressive with his defense and he gets into foul trouble. Jeremy Grant against Milwaukee, they're going to need Jeremy Grant. So Grant may be one that you got to keep your eye on and put him on your list. Olynyk as well. They're going to need these two guys that definitely play well here today to keep that game close with Milwaukee. If they're able to do that with Milwaukee having all the guys out with Drew Holiday, Middleton out, it opens up the doors for this game to be a pretty interesting game. Mikal Bridges, I'm okay with him. Dwight Powell, Bobby Portis, these are guys to watch out for, but I will go with Portis more if he's going to start and play more than 20-plus minutes. And that's about it. At center, I pretty much gave you the guys that I was interested in. So that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. We got Lowry, Mitchell, Porter, Giannis, and Rudy G. And then if you're looking for a game to stack, the only one that I could think of that I like from the very beginning because of all the injuries, and it's all going to be a matter of the injuries, but Milwaukee Detroit is probably going to be an interesting game. It's not going to have a huge implied total. This game's only got 216.5 with Milwaukee at the moment favored by 4.5. But you can actually stack a Giannis with a Connington, Cogniton, and maybe even George Hill, and maybe even sprinkle in a Bobby Portis, and you still could be able to get Grant Cunningham, and hope that Cade Cunningham plays well and they give him 23, 24 minutes. He played, 18? His first game out, so maybe slowly but surely they'll move him to 20, 22 today. And then Kelly Olynyk. I could see that all happening, and you'll still probably have about 6,500 per player left, so somewhere in that range, maybe even 7K if you throw in there Bobby Portis. So I think that's a game you can definitely stack just simply because of the price tags. If you kind of get either here, the highest price Milwaukee Buck is Giannis, and the highest price Detroit Piston is Jeremy Grant. So, there is definitely room there. You could probably stay with about 6 to 6,500, maybe even as high as 7K per player. So in option day, I will make a couple of lineups because I make multiple lineups, but that's pretty much it. That is it for today, man. I wish you guys a lot of luck. If you like the video, please drop a like. Definitely appreciate it. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of today's slate. Subscribe to the channel if you want to continue to get your daily picks, strategies, some advice, or any information. Any of this information helps you. Definitely subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to put on a notification bell. And I'll see you guys on the next one, man. Good luck tonight. Peace out.